Since this came up, so I'm respectful of the questions that are asked. And if there's a time sensitivity, you can put the whole
You mean in terms of doing that, that's not spending any money? Right. But I really can't say no. I'm trying to be open to it, but I'm okay. It's really against my principles.
We're ready to go.
Welcome to the Administration and Public Works Committee meeting of Monday, May 28th, 2013. I am Alderman Burris, and I'll be chairing this evening in place of Alderman Grover. We have a quorum. Can I get an approval of minutes for the regular meeting of May 13th, 2013?
Move approval. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. We have the winners of the Drinking Water Week Art Contest.
You've got it there.
No? Okay. We'll move on. We'll follow up at the end of the meeting. City of Evanston payroll through May 5th, 2013, in the amount of $2,619,382.07.
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
City of Evanston bills, fiscal year 2013 through May 29th, 2013, in the amount of $3,597,201.31.
Move approval.
Second.
And I know we have the bills list questions. I'm going to take a few minutes just to look through the answers to our questions.
You need to delete that first one. There's a double payment on the first page.
Delete the double. Yes, Mr. Lyons is aware. Thank you. Do we have any questions for staff? Oh, I'm sorry, Alderman Holmes.
I'm just
I
asking
didn't-
Alderman Rainey if I could
Okay.
ask a question on one of her questions.
Yes.
Please.
On the clowning around private party, if I'm reading it correctly, it says the fee is $315, and the $234 is for two parties, which means it's $117 each. So the balance is that profit?
Mr. Gaynor? Thank you.
Doug Gaynor, Director of Parks, Recreation, Community Services, Chairperson Burris, and members of the committee. We charge the $300 per event, and it's 200 and whatever that number is that you just said.
34.
34 is per party. So there is a net there.
Okay, well, then that's wrong, because it says that this was for two recent parties. The 234 was for two recent parties.
Right. So that's times 2. But we charge that 315 is also times 2.
Got it.
Okay,
Doesn't come out.
okay.
Could you take a look at that before the meeting?
Sure.
Doesn't come out, right?
It is correct.
So it's 234 and 234. Okay, so that's what's on. It's on the next page.
All right.
Got it. Do we have any other questions from the bills list?
I have a question about the
Please.
wiring issue on page, it's page 42. There was a wiring charge for a piece of equipment, $4,192. There wasn't a warranty or any issue with that? I didn't understand. It looks like the wiring just failed. I mean, when you look at our maintenance budgets, I mean, they're enormous, and I just wonder, I know in the scheme of things, it's not much, but I'd like to understand it.
Director Robinson?
Yes.
Great.
Committee Chairman, Alderman Burris, committee members, Suzette Robinson, Director of Public Works. Alderman Rainey, the piece of equipment is a 2000, the year 2000, so it wouldn't be under warranty. And I think it was mentioned in the purchase price of a new vehicle is about $85,000.
I just saw that, yeah. All right.
Do we have any other questions on the bills?
Like paying $100 for one of our cars, I guess. You know, I mean, it's a minor thing, just couldn't figure it out. All righty, no.
Alderman Holmes, you ready? Okay, great. All those in favor? Aye. A 3.1, staff recommends approval of a single-source purchase of water main leak detection equipment from Fluid Conservation Services in the amount of $53,060. Funding is provided by the Water Fund with a fiscal year 2013 budget of $60,000 for the purchase of leak detection equipment.
Move approval. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
A 3.2, staff recommends that City Council authorize the city manager to execute a contract with AVI Systems for the purchase and installation of new video cameras, mixer, and microphones in the amount of $43,167.
Move approval.
I'll second.
Alderman Braithwaite?
I just have a quick question from staff just regarding the wiring or the cable that's going to be used.
Thank you, Mr. Swinkowski.
Matt Swinkowski, Intergovernmental Affairs Coordinator. Chairman Burris and Alderman Braithwaite, the wiring that we're going to be using is actually the existing wiring. We're not going to be doing, from my understanding, any additional wiring outside of actually in the control room. So the wiring that will go from the cameras all the way back,
Okay.
we will not be replacing the wiring.
So my question is then, we're purchasing HD equipment, and my question to you is, how do we expect HD quality, lines per resolution, et cetera, if you're not upgrading the cabling?
From what I understand, the wiring has been upgraded of more recently than what the cameras have been. But let me double check and get back to you. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Rainey.
Who did we consult with regarding
From the specs for, so I consulted with a couple of people. One was Steve Bartleball, the former ECTV director. He assisted me in speccing out the proposal, and then a little bit of former ECTV staff who are now departed.
What about compatibility with what's over? I have no idea.
Yeah,
I don't understand the technology, so I'm just curious as to how this all works. What about compatibility with what's over at the service center
Right.
here? Were any of those people involved?
Absolutely.
They were.
So the ECTV staff
they know.
have been consulted, and we're going to be doing a larger get-together meeting in the next about 10 days to go over what the specs are. But yes, absolutely, it's going to be compatible.
And there's no thought of wiring one other room in the building?
When the bid went out, which I started working on it in February, that was before I knew what the council's direction was on the second room. And so the bid went out one time, and then a second time, and so I still did not have that direction from council. But moving forward, we can absolutely follow the council's will.
But that would require additional cameras. They aren't
Right.
mobile. They can't be
Right.
moved from one place to another.
Madam Chair, Alderman Rainey, members of the committee, good evening. We understand the desire to wire an additional room, and what we'll do is we'll talk with this vendor once they're on board, and if there's an opportunity for us to amend the contract based on the larger project so we can get some economies of scale in that way, we'll come back to you with that. But it was our estimation that we really want to move forward. This room is really empty a few times of the year, but it's empty in the month of August, and we would like to be able to make these improvements during the month of August and did not want to delay this any further. So we'll be back to you with additional information regarding the second room as time progresses.
And just be specific about the resolution. I mean, it just makes no sense to me to purchase the brand-new equipment and then have the same old cables and we not know exactly how old it is, whether it's composite, S-video. I spend too much time at Best Buy. I guess that's the reason that I want to be clear on if we're buying HD equipment, we should get the full resolution, and if we have old, outdated cables, I just don't understand how we can accomplish
our
that.
plan is to have and record in high definition. What we will not be able to do is broadcast on channel 16 in high definition because we are not provided under the cable franchise agreement a high definition channel. But we are, Mr. Smith and I actually corresponded today a couple different times. I think there's an interest to make sure that we can have it on YouTube in high definition. We've been able to confirm that that will be possible. We will look at streaming. Currently, we stream the channel as it's broadcast. So we're looking at streaming in high definition, and also to have a connection here at the press table, so that if members of the press wish to get the video feed, they'll be able to do that as well. So rest assured, communities do this once in a very infrequent while, and our intention here is to have equipment that will serve us well into the future.
A 3.2 has been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
A 3.3, staff recommends approval for the sole source purchase of 20 flashback 2-in-car video recording systems from L3 Mobile Vision Incorporated in the amount of $50,100.
I have the same question.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Just a quick question again
Yes.
about the cable, Chief. Just a quick question about the cabling. When I read through the packet, new equipment, are they pulling the wires to upgrade the wires? Is there any need to do that?
Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the dais. We believe no, that won't be necessary with these particular systems. It's the components have a life expectancy, and we've exceeded that life expectancy also when those components are moved from car to car, from year to year, or whenever we cycle the car out, they're recabled at that time. So the cables are newer than the components that are being replaced. Thank you.
Alderman Rainey.
Would you, I've never seen this work, so I don't know what we're talking about. Can you explain it?
Absolutely, Alderman.
What does it look like?
It's the in-car recordings, digital recordings that we
Video?
have. Yes, it's.
Have we been successful with our current video system in our cars?
Absolutely. I think one of the things that on my many trips to Human Services, a lot of times we're able to get to the heart of the matter by watching the video. It assists the OPS investigators a great deal, and frankly, it circumnavigates the he said, she said. It's this: the cop walked up to the car and this is what they did.
So when are they activated?
We've just expanded the general order that controls that because the state of Illinois expanded when we can use it. So for most police contacts that are initiated from the squad car, there will be some digital recording.
What does that mean? I mean, you pull a car over.
Yes.
It starts.
Yes.
Do you have to physically start it?
It starts when the lights go on.
What lights? The siren lights?
Yes.
And what about when the siren goes off?
It needs to be manually shut off by the officer. Automatic start, manual
And
stop.
can it record conversations outside of the car? Once
Yes.
the officer gets out of the car?
Yes, ma'am. And please come by sometime. We'll be happy to randomly pick some traffic stops or something out of the OPS files that we've investigated, and we'll walk you through the entire system because it is, frankly, it's become the industry standard. There is an expectation by the public that it's recorded.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. A3.4, staff recommends that City Council approve the renewal agreement for the 2013 Summer Food Service Program with Open Kitchens in the not-to-exceed amount of $2.446 per lunch. Estimated total value of the food cost for the program are $86,500. Overall budgeted expenses for the 2013 program are $115,092, which includes staffing, seasonal salaries, Social Security, Medicare, advertising, program supplies, sanitation fees, health inspections, and food cost. The estimated revenue is $103,000 to be reimbursed through the federal government program.
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, sorry. Alderman Braithwaite.
Staff is on this. Is it Doug? No. Have you ever looked at a local vendor?
Bob, why don't you? We do work with, the bid process.
Right.
So, Bob, you want to talk about it? He is working directly with this project.
Bob Dorniker, Assistant Director of Parks, Recreation, and Community Services. Committee Chair, in response to your question, the city has looked at a local vendor. Unfortunately, they were not able to provide the number of meals required for the program. There's also a list of vendors that the state puts out that we try to work with also because it is a state-run program, and the request per proposal is actually under their auspices, so we do have to work with that list too. So,
No,
Alderman Rainey.
Alderman Braithwaite, I used to have those concerns, but this is really complicated. It's, all you need is a couple of little kids getting sick from, milk that is now cold but was once warm, and, the lunches are really good, and it seems to be pretty well run. So we keep using this firm because they evidently have no problem.
Great. A3.5.
Should we vote?
Oh, we already did. We voted and then,
I thought, we already voted.
We already
Okay,
voted.
I know we moved in second.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
A3.5, staff recommends that City Council authorize the city manager to execute a contract for the base bid for the 2013 Ecology Center Greenhouse Addition project with construction, consulting, and disbursement services in the amount of $175,000. Funding is provided by the fiscal year 2013 Capital Improvement Program in the amount of $115,000 and the fiscal year 2013 Capital Improvement Amendment of $71,988 for a total allocation of $186,988. Can we get a second?
Second.
Alderman Rainey?
Thank you. Could I find out, I'm not really into the Ecology Center. It's a beautiful place, but I don't hang out there a lot. What happens in the greenhouse? Don't say we grow plants. But I mean, what is the use? How do we use the greenhouse?
Can somebody address?
I'm trying to justify.
Doug Gaynor, Director of Parks, Recreation, Community Services, Chairperson Burris, members of the committee. Currently, it's become more of a storage facility because it is so run down. There's a lot of cracks and there's no foundation. The whole thing has to be taken out and then rebuilt. And at that point, we will use it as a greenhouse. We will use it as also a course study for the students that are involved in our ecology classes.
Will we rebuild it to the same footprint as it is now? Or are we
Pretty
gonna
much,
make
yes.
And how are we going to maintain it? This would seem like the kind of thing that your department, who's very good at getting grants, could have gotten some money for.
We tried.
You tried, yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm going to ask. I have two speakers, and I believe you're actually signed up for A5, but I wanted to double check that. It's Virginia and Fred? Is that true that you're signed up for the tiny house or this one? Okay.
Yeah.
But why don't you come and speak? I just wasn't sure on here. Thank you.
So do we finish? I mean, do I know now what I wanted to know? No.
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 No. But I think the
Oh.
speakers may be able to help provide that information since
Really?
they were. Well,
Okay.
may I?
My name is Virginia Beatty. I live at 1509 Forest Avenue in Evanston, and I was very much interested in getting some information on this because I have been involved with Evanston environmental doings since about 1964. And one thing that bothered me a little bit is not being able to get any information on what was being proposed here. I probably asked all the wrong people. I've got to study up on a little bit more on Evanston. And one thing I'm very concerned about is the fact that the last time we went around with the discussion of the greenhouse, the thing had been done by an in-house group, and they didn't have the foggiest notion what a greenhouse was supposed to be or how it was supposed to be used. And I know that for many people, $186,000 isn't very much, but I think it's something that should be looked at very carefully before you go into anything. And I personally am very, very strongly in favor of a greenhouse. I just would like to be sure that this time around it's done with sufficient storage space. The whole Ecology Center it's a jewel, but it's not got enough place to save stuff or keep stuff or to use stuff. In fact, it's very tight for the people themselves. And I just would like to get more information, having been a professional in this field for quite some time.
Okay, thank you.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Fred? And then I was going to go back to Mr. Gaynor. Thank you. No, you can go.
My name is Fred Schneider. I live at 3301 Noyes in Evanston. I'm the president of the Evanston Environmental Association. I've been a part of the EEA for 7 years. Was on the Lad Ribbon Committee 5 years ago for a few years. So thank you, Chairperson and committee, for allowing us to talk about this. Obviously, we're in strong favor of this resolution being passed and supported by the City Council and by the committee. One just has to walk over and take a look at the existing greenhouse at the Ecology Center at this point to know that it's It's really probably has some code issues at this point, code violation. I'm not too sure, but it's in rough shape. And so they haven't been able to use it for a long time, except to store feed for the critters at the Ecology Center for the most part, and a few plants here and there, but that's it. I think that as time changes, as time goes on, things change, uses change, needs change. The Ecology Center is kind of going through its own development as the rest of us in the community are going through a development on the environmental front. And I think the greenhouse will sort of, be a part of that sort of transformation. I think, yes, as Virginia pointed out, it needs to have a greenhouse component. It also needs to be flexible enough to provide storage because the Ecology Center is really bursting at its seams in terms of storing thing. In fact, the offices look like it's half warehouse, half office, half the time, unfortunately. And they do have a lot of programs and a lot of materials that they create and they put together and they save and they reuse over and over again for a number of educational programs for both children and adults. So just in that light alone, I think we really believe it's important to upgrade that facility any way possible. There was an initial push 4 or 5 years ago to get some matching funds. The city would put up a certain amount of money, I think $150,000, something like that. Went out to get a matching grant, didn't get the grant, and we all worked together and figured out how to sort of regroup and retrofit another sort of scenario that would work and function as both a greenhouse and a kind of educational / storage area as well for the Ecology Center. $183,000 does seem like a lot of money, but you can't even pour cement nowadays for less than $25,000. So, and that certainly needs new footing and new foundation and all that. So it's in really rough shape, and so I think a lot of basic costs are going to be eat up some of the dollars just to create some kind of a fundamental space that will be able to work both with the existing classroom there and open up into the classroom and serve all the varied educational needs that the Ecology Center staff have. So please consider that, and I hope that you'll pass it. Thanks.
Thanks. Mr. Gaynor, thank you. Alderman Rainey, do you have a follow-up question?
I didn't know if you were finished. I don't have any problem spending this amount of money on a greenhouse, especially a new construction greenhouse, and especially for the Ecology Center. What I have a problem with is, it doesn't sound like there's a program developed for the greenhouse, and or maybe I just missed it, or nobody's explaining it. So that's what I'd like to know.
Okay.
I don't want to see, and I agree with Virginia, it has to have, I have a greenhouse at my house, has to have storage for potting and all that stuff that goes on. But I don't see it as being a class. Taking a class in there, yeah, but is it a greenhouse or is it a multi-purpose space?
I think it's the way the way we're describing it is really both. The reason I say that is that the young folks or the adults are going to help us with the activities in a greenhouse as part of our program. So they're going to be using that as a classroom, as we described, as they are performing the functions within a greenhouse.
Well, what functions, you're going to, I guess that's what I'm looking for. What are the functions in the greenhouse? That's what I want to know.
Well, planting, harvesting various plants is primarily what they're going to use it for. And we expect the participants in our programs to be fully engaged in that activity using the greenhouse and caring for the plants. And
will the purpose be to then take those plants outside of the greenhouse and either sell the market whatever is done in there, or I don't know.
In some of the programs that we have had in the past, we have done those kinds of things where we've taken and gone to the farmers market as an example and put up a table and talk about the activities that we've done, and this is a result of those activities from the Ecology Center. So that's just one way for us to do it.
I don't see the greenhouse as being a place where you're going to be growing palm trees and things like that. It would seem to me more utilitarian type planting. But I don't know. I'm just very confused.
We can certainly provide a program for the City Council.
Did we have a program before when the greenhouse was fully
Yes, years
functional?
ago we did. But we haven't used the greenhouse for a number of years because of its condition.
Alderman Holmes, then Alderman Braithwaite.
I was searching through my emails because Ms. Beatty had sent an email to Alderman Grover and myself last night, and Alderman Grover did take time to answer, and she has much more information than I do about the project. But she said Ms. Beatty wanted to know about the firm that designed it. And did you see the email?
No, but
Okay.
I'm wondering that too.
Well, Alderman Grover said that they do not specialize in greenhouses. However, they have designed a variety of structures that incorporated sustainability and accessibility, and that the firm has worked closely with the Ecology Center and the facility staff through the design process to improve the greenhouse infrastructure so that it maximizes the space's potential for plants and people.
Right.
So that is what they're trying to do with this new design.
But they've never done a greenhouse.
They've never done a greenhouse.
Are there plenty of people out there who've done a greenhouse?
I don't know, but I just wanted to share that because she had sent that email.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's my sense also. I feel like after reading through this last night that it's a little half-baked, and I was trying to get a visual idea of what this thing looks like. And if I need to drive by there, I'll drive by there. But as I look at the range in bid responses all the way from 134 to 295, I'm just asking myself the question, were they all looking at the same piece of paper?
Well, certainly they all do look at the same bid that is sent out. So, I mean, the specifications are created not only by the consultant but in-house staff as a combination. And so the bid is the bid document that all bidders would receive. So there's no variations.
There a rendering somewhere in a file that I can look at to see what the final project, or would it make better sense just to drive by there?
There is.
Aren't these people going to design it?
There is a rendering.
Yeah, I just want to see it. I don't know what
Mr. Bobkowitz, is it possible to hold this to get more information until in our next meeting?
And just perhaps to provide some background, the City Council entered into a memorandum of understanding with the Environmental Association about 2 years ago. And this was the number one priority of the Environmental Association to move forward with. The greenhouse footprint, for those of you who have been there, is not changing. It is adjacent to a classroom, as Mr. Gaynor indicated. We're trying to recreate what it was before, which was a part of the teaching process. So is it a greenhouse as you might picture one in your mind's eye, off to the side, away from the building? No, it is adjacent to the building. Its function is, I think, a little, as Mr. Gaynor indicated, much more of a teaching greenhouse than it is something that's purely growing plants, flowers off by itself. But we can perhaps provide the council photographs of the existing footprint, because I think that would help you have a better sense of what's going on. But again, this is something we've been talking about for a number of years. The council has discussed this project, I don't think so much in the last CIP, but certainly in 09-10 and 11. This was a point of discussion, quite honestly, trying to get the grant funding and then being unsuccessful, but understanding this was an important component of the educational process. So we'll come back at your next meeting. We'll have some photographs of the existing footprint. I think if you could see the existing footprint, even though it is not in the condition it once was, I think that gives you a context that probably would answer 3/4 of your questions right there.
Okay.
So, and certainly the Ecology Center is open, and if you'd like, we would be happy to arrange a time for you to walk through and talk with the staff there, and that might also give you a better idea of context as well.
Right. Well, Alderman Rainey.
McGuire is going to design the greenhouse, right? So there isn't a picture of the greenhouse yet because they haven't designed it. I mean, that's going to be their job.
But again, it's not a complicated structure, and so I think that again, we'll be happy to provide you renderings. We'll provide you photographs of what's existing.
It's going to have an irrigation system, right? The greenhouse.
So we'll provide all that information. Again,
Not that simple. It has to have drainage. It's not that simple. You don't buy a kit and put up the ecology greenhouse. So I'd be curious to know if any of these other applicants or participants had greenhouse experience. I'm just asking.
Okay. We're going to hold it till next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. A3.6, staff recommends the City Council authorize the city manager to execute a contract for the 2013 Fire Station Number 2 renovation project to McGuire Igleski and Associates at a total cost of $22,527,000.
Move approval.
All those in favor? Aye. Oh, I'm sorry, Alderman Rainey?
I'm sure all the aldermen have been to some of these stations that need work. Some of it is pathetic. They need work. So this I really support.
A3.7, staff recommends City Council approval to participate in a contract extension through the Suburban Purchasing Cooperative for pavement marking services to apply thermoplastic marking materials at various locations throughout the city in support of the pedestrian safety program. Participation in this contract would not exceed $75,000.
Move approval.
Second.
I actually have a question about this. Hi. Over the past several years, I've been concerned about the markings for the crosswalks.
Yes.
Come up very quickly. I know one crosswalk that was in front of the office building that I worked in, maybe a year where the markings were actually still really visible, and then they've deteriorated, and 2 years out, you can barely see that they're there.
Okay.
Are there ways to do more markings that are more permanent, or do we need to keep coming back over and over again doing the same ones? I guess I'm just concerned about the longevity of the markings.
Thank you, Chairman Burris. Actually, this particular process, thermoplastic, is the most durable that we can use on pavements. Depending on the type of pavement and the condition of the pavement, that actually has a lot to do with the longevity. Thermoplastic is not really appropriate for concrete pavements. It does come up very, very quickly. Actual painting is better for that sort of application. Just looking through the city, we have a lot of locations where we have thermoplastic crosswalks, and we still have a few that are painted crosswalks. And so perhaps what you were looking at is paint, which does require an annual refreshing. So thermoplastic could give us up to 5 years life expectancy, so it's really a superior product.
What can you give us? You don't obviously tonight, but could you give us locations of where that the thermoplastic?
Absolutely, we have most
city?
of our locations already selected.
No, where they currently are in the city now.
The thermoplastic locations?
Yeah, we have none.
Most of our crosswalks are actually thermoplastic. Where
Right.
we've had the thermoplastic come up, it has to do with, Jim talked about the condition of the pavement. So if the pavement is if there's like an upheaval, then the plows are hitting it. So that's what's actually taking it off. So we'll lay it down, and then we'll go through a snow season, and the snow plow, because the thermoplastic is actually a little higher than the ground surface, it doesn't blend in like paint does. So we've actually looked at a combination of things. Where we have those problem areas, looked at actually putting paint down, because you've had some cities that have gone back to doing exactly that, depending on kind of where the markings are, to actually do a program of using thermoplastic and paint. So.
Yeah, because I believe that actually the one I'm describing is on Ridge. I think it was the thermoplastic. It wasn't paint, and it didn't last a year.
Yeah. So we are looking at, and we have the flexibility to do both to make sure that we don't have to come back every year.
Okay.
Right.
I appreciate you getting the information.
But do we know where it's going to be put?
Do you have the locations for this year?
I can share those with you and send them to anybody that's interested. We're still acquiring some other safety locations that we want to add to it and maintain a little flexibility, but we have a list.
So we can also volunteer sites that we think
Sure.
need. Okay.
Love to take any input that you have.
Great. All right, we've moved in second. Actually, we approved already. Never mind. A3.8. Staff recommends City Council authorize the city manager to execute a one-year contract with 3 one-year renewals for Harvey Communications for the purchase of emergency lighting, sirens, and aftermarket products and services in the amount of $68,973.60.
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
A 3.9, staff recommends City Council approval for the purchase of 8 replacement vehicles for the Evanston Police Department in the amount of $222,273.98 from Curie Motors, which is the Northwest Municipal Conference Suburban Purchasing Cooperative competitive bid winner.
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
A 3.10, staff recommends City Council approval of a one-year contract extension for the purchase of Ford Original Equipment Manufacturer parts in the amount of $75,000 to Gulf Mill Ford Incorporated.
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor? A 3.11, staff recommends that City Council authorize the city manager to execute a contract for the 2013 water main replacement and street resurfacing CIP project, one with Glenbrook Excavating and Contracting, in the amount of $1,998,898.26.
Move approval.
All those in favor? Aye. A 3.12, staff recommends City Council authorize the city manager to execute a single-source contract for data conversion service with Schaefer Consulting in the amount of $36,000. Funding is included as part of the total funding cost for the New World system under the contingency for additional implementation services above the minimum proposed by New World Systems.
Move approval.
Alderman Braithwaite, sorry.
From staff, just to hear a little bit more about the software. I think you presented on this last time. Is this the purchasing software, Marty, that we've discussed at our committee meeting?
Yes, Madam Chair, Alderman Braithwaite. This is a part of our conversion of the finance, purchasing, budgeting, and human resources software. We had planned to do a mix of in-house and outsourced work for this, and we have increased the outsourced portion of this because Richard Mertz, one of our longtime in-house Oracle programmers, retired at the about 4 months ago. So shortly after the New World was selected.
You think this is why he retired?
Well, that's one of those things. He has gone through a couple of conversions with the city, so it can drive you crazy.
And we've really vetted this firm, right? I mean, they are the ones that do this for the New World system.
Correct, Alderman Rainey. That was the issue. We actually are working with some other firms, keeping up our current J.D. Edwards system, and we feel that this firm has better experience than even the ones that we've been working with, keeping the current system up. They have the experience in actually doing the job, and no one else did.
Right.
High school student.
No, this is.
All those in favor?
Aye.
A4, staff recommends that the City Council authorize the city manager to execute change order number 1 to the agreement with Third Millennium Associates for the utility billing print and mailing services, increasing the amount of the contract by $5,000 and extending the contract completion date by 62 days.
Move approval.
Second.
Alderman Rainey.
Are we happy with Third Millennium, or are we hoping to get another vendor? We're going out to bid, right?
Good evening, Dave Stonemak, Utilities Director. We currently are out to bid. We actually received proposals today, but it will take, we feel, 2 months for the new vendor, until we approve them. and then get them up and running. So we're asking for a 2-month extension with our current vendor, Third Millennium, and yes, we are happy with their work at this point.
You are happy with
Yes.
Millennium?
Alderman Braithwaite?
Just a quick question, Dave. Do you know if there are any Evanston responses in that big package?
No. There were 15 companies contacted, 5 of which were Evanston businesses, and we contacted them as well to try to make sure they do supply a bid. We had 7 proposals received today. None were from Evanston.
Mr. Lyons? Oh.
You just covered it.
Okay.
And I think our staff is trying.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's time for one of those fairs.
Well, we've
vendor
done one.
fairs.
You know what would be helpful, and I don't know who in purchasing is the contact person for various bids. I mean, it'd just be nice to be able to point them to someone to get some of their questions answered. I mean, I can go through the details or the feedback that I received from one vendor one-on-one after this, but obviously I'm not the person to ask questions to when it comes to the specifications of a bid contract. And at the time, I really didn't know who the person was that sent this out. And so it would be nice to know if there's someone in purchasing that, as I'm running around the community, if someone has a specific question, I just say, hey, call this purchasing person. If that's Marty, I'll let them know to call Marty, or the director of whoever's putting it out.
I think if you tell one something, don't you have to sit down with all of them? I mean, do we have a pre-bid conference on something like this?
We did not. We received proposals, or we received questions, and we did receive a lot of questions, and then we put an addendum out. And we share all the questions that we received with everybody that is a plan holder, and share the same responses to everyone as well.
Mr. Lyons, did you have?
Yes, just in answer to Alderman Braithwaite's direct question, I would encourage any local vendors to contact myself, that's Marty Lyons, or Louis Gergitz, the finance manager. Both of us can be reached at 847-866-2934. The reason I'm not giving out purchasing personnel is that presently we have no purchasing manager. We're working on a new format that is meeting with very positive results with I would say both with external and our internal departments. But one of our team members, Dolores Cortez, is out presently. So I would really like to make sure anyone reaching out contacts Lou or myself. Ashley Porta, who's in the audience, has been doing an excellent job. She's one of our management analysts who stepped up to be the interim purchasing coordinator. And we've been doing a great job, but at the same time, when we are putting together our actual documentation, I'd like to have them go straight to Lou Gergitz, the finance manager, who handles both the payable side, when people get paid, and the purchasing side when we select them. So I'd like them to take it up a notch.
Okay. Any other questions? All those in favor? Aye. A5, staff recommends that the city manager be authorized to execute an agreement with Northwestern University to accept the donation of the tiny house for educational purposes.
Move approval.
Second.
And I know both of you would like to speak again about the tiny house. Virginia, did you want to speak up?
Yes, my concern when I first heard about it was where they were going to put it, because if you put a solar panel in the shade, you're not teaching people very much about how this sort of thing works. And of course, they're not going to be using the compost toilet in there. And it is cute, and I understand it goes to heaven of little houses if it doesn't get used. So I hope if it is going to be put over there, it's not put on top of our little remnant scrap of wildflowers in the Ladd Arboretum, or in any other place where there are things growing. That was my only concern.
Okay.
And I understand that maybe they're not planning to put it right on top of the wildflowers, as I first heard. So I'll be watching that too.
Okay.
make sure that the little house doesn't get hurt.
Thank you. Fred?
Somebody going to live in it?
I doubt it, but I don't think we'll ask Mr. Gaynor. Hi, Fred.
Thank you, Chairperson Burris and members of the committee, for these few moments to address the tiny house. As president of the Evanston Environmental Association, I'm here to represent our board and membership and urge you and the City Council to pass this resolution accepting the tiny house as a donation from our neighbor, Northwestern University. Back in September at the Green Living Festival, we invited them to come and bring the tiny house to the festival, and they did, and it was a hit. During the festival, I approached the students and their advisor, and I, scrounge that I am, I asked what the tiny house's future was and what plans they had for its future. And I did have ulterior motives in that question. When I learned that the university wanted to donate it somewhere, but they didn't know where, I suggested the best possible option, which would be the Ecology Center. We've been working since that time to make it a reality, and you have the opportunity tonight to do just that. For a number of years, a few of us have worked on a vision to expand the Ecology Center's exhibits to include a demonstration of sustainable features of green buildings and greenhouses. We didn't necessarily have the financial resources to do these things, and we looked for other ways to do it over the years. This was part of a 6 to 7 year process of working to bring the Ecology Center up front to make it more of a visible and out front hub for green and sustainability education programs throughout the community. We at the EEA have worked hard these past 7 years to raise the visibility of the Ecology Center and to increase education opportunities in the community. The Green Living Festival, the Green Ball, the Environmental Film Festival, a number of other activities have been happening over the last few years, and we've been trying to get the center to be recognized as a real hub for ecology and for environment and sustainability in the city. We're getting there, and the tiny house is another effort to do so. We're grateful that our city manager has been in total support of these efforts to raise the visibility of the center and the EEA. I think we're recognized now with our colleagues over at CGE as being the two most important environmental groups in town. And the Ecology Center is becoming more and more seen as the place to go and to use as the hub and center for sustainable activities in town. When we began to visualize how and where the tiny house would be integrated into the existing Ecology Center building, the EEA, me and other people, some Ecology Center staff, some city staff, we sat around and we talked about this. I felt strongly, and I think other people did, that it should be out front. Unfortunately, out front is where a little bed of wildflowers sit. We thought it should face McCormick Boulevard so that everyone can see this new addition to the center and showcase the wonderful work done by Northwestern University students. The tiny house serves not just only as a great new exhibition resource at the center, but it also symbolizes the growth and development of the Ecology Center as a place that's leading in the necessary green education of all of us, helping make Evanston a truly green city as part of its goal. We believe so strongly that the tiny house should be out front and highly visible that the EE has promised to help foot the cost with the city to make this happen. We believe the tiny house should be a highly visible symbol of the cooperation between the City of Evanston and Northwestern University, and this is a great opportunity to showcase that. We will take care of any plants that have to be removed, but we feel that there's a spot that's perfect for this in front of the Ecology Center and along McCormick Boulevard. We hope that the resolution is passed and the city staff is able to work with us to locate the tiny house in a location that reflects its importance to the Ecology Center, the EA, the city, and Northwestern University. Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
Oh, but it costs $312 per square foot to build. But of course, that includes appliances.
And I will be recusing myself from this vote as I was actually involved in this project in my day job. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
So,
Yes.
has the location been determined? It sounds like it really has.
Mr. Gaynor?
And then we're going to transplant the flower. Because I do think it should be right out in front. Otherwise, it's going to be hidden.
Yeah, the primary location that was selected is exactly where Fred indicated, and facing McCormick. We had a backup place around back if that became an issue, but the front of the building is where on the McCormick side.
In the back, who would see it?
I'm sorry?
You want people to know it's there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Will there be like tours and?
Yes, it's an educational facility, and no, the toilet's not going to be used. The solar panels each one of these things, as we take folks through, it will be explained. These are solar panels. They need sunlight. Obviously, we're in an arboretum. We're not going to have the sunlight, but here's how it works, and here's how the composting toilet works, so that each component of the building is explained of how it can be totally sustainable.
It's pretty cool.
It would be nice if the sustainable features could be, people could see them working. You could put up anything and say, this is a solar panel. It's not really, but that's what it would look like. That just seems a shame. What about in the parking lot?
The parking lot on the south side of Bridge Street, or are you talking about in the circle?
No, well,
where-
I was
where there's
thinking
no
the parking
sun.
lot across the street.
Yeah.
It's open.
And if you're really green, you don't care about not having
Fred?
a couple of cars.
I think the whole thinking really was to integrate it and to connect it with the Ecology Center building, with the existing structure. It makes the most sense. The classes are in there. They would go right from the classes into the demonstration exhibit of the tiny house. And there's a natural logic and flow and all that going on here. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. A6, staff requests adoption of Resolution 30-R-13, appointing the City of Evanston's 2013 to 2015 director and alternate director to Swank.
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
A7, staff recommends approval of Resolution 35-R-13, authorizing the mayor of the City of Evanston to execute a highway authority agreement and an addendum thereto with Ventura Realty Limited.
This is, move approval. This is
Alderman
for the property across from the police station that economic development and everybody else has dealt with
Yes.
for more than a year, I think.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And do we want to announce that the winners of the drinking water will be next time? Oh, they were, oh, so it never, okay, never mind. Any other items for discussion? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Meeting is adjourned. The Planning and Development Committee meeting will begin at 7:15.